right now, most of what's happening is online is not human. At least when you believe some of the new studies that came out. A recent study published in April 2025 this year analyzed 900,000 new web pages, and 47% of those had AI-generated content in them. With such a number coming up, businesses have to ask their questions, okay, how do I publish online? Do I use AI? What do I trust online when something is being written? And there's even a case where a big fashion brand was attacked by bots on social media. And I think 38% of those attacks were coming from bots and not from humans. So businesses really need to focus on how to deal with such cases that are coming up. And it's not just about text and language. It's also about videos and voice. It's getting even harder to detect what is AI or bot generated and what is produced by a human. That's why I'm very, very glad that today we have Luzi Sennhauser with us. He's the CEO and founder of Aurigin.ai that is exactly tackling this problem. And you claim that you are identifying 98% of voice and video created by AI, 98% accuracy in detecting AI-generated voice and audio content, which is awesome. And I'm happy that we have you in this episode of the AI at Work podcast. Luzi, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me here.
Perfect. Before we dive into the topic, there are 3 statements prepared for you that I would like you to finish. That's how we usually introduce into our podcast episodes. And the first one is, right now, AI at work makes me feel...
Super excited.
Awesome. So you're looking positive into the future, even though you are working in the security startup space.
I'm an enthusiast, but yes, I'm also aware of the risks or working with the risks.
Yeah, it's important to keep both in mind when working in the space, I agree. Second statement, the biggest myth about deepfakes is...
that as humans, we can still detect them.
Oh, that's a huge claim. I would say for myself that I'm pretty good at at detecting AI-generated content, but you will maybe teach me.
I would challenge that.
Yes,
but that might be a completely different episode.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Third statement, in 5 years, the internet will be...
I think it will be even more useful than it is today. It will be... mostly synthetic content, or mostly generated from synthetic content, and hyper-personalized.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to this future. And to make this future happening, you founded your startup. Maybe before we dive into what you're doing at Aurigin.ai, let's take a step back and looking at this bigger problem that also came across from the numbers that I introduced in the introduction. And when I just have some numbers here on my paper, and at least there are some studies and that 30 to 40% of the text on web pages is already AI generated. There is studies that many bots are out there and many bots are not really producing content with a good intent, but actually attacking democracy, attacking brands that we had in the example before, just to spread some misinformation here and there. And there is a question that is coming up with all this happening, and AI is a big picture into this. What do you think have changed when you look at digital content to when it was in the past to how it is now with synthetic content, AI-generated content becoming the norm, like you also said in your intro?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think I see 3 things that happen, or 3 trends that happen simultaneously right now. Yes. One is it gets extremely realistic, and we have done a game. We have a game on our website where you can rate is something human or AI generated.
Yes,
and that's where we get 50-50 answers from humans. So humans, we're not able to even have a slight bias towards the correct answer. So we don't, as humans, we cannot find out anymore what is real and what not. And I think this is the why now moment for deepfakes, for the positive side, but also for the negative side of it. And then the second item is that it gets extremely easy to make them. You might know 11 Labs, one of the biggest voice cloning tools, and in my opinion, the best one. And it takes 10 minutes, and I have a perfect replica of my voice that even my coworkers, if it comes through a phone channel, could not recognize anymore. So it gets extremely easy. And the third one is then with AI, with all the productivity tools, it just gets scaled. The fraud business case gets so scalable that it's now suddenly economical to run all these deepfake attacks at scale.
Okay, so it's becoming easy to generate. The access is there for everybody, literally. 11 Labs, you can make yourself an account with an email address in 10 minutes and get started on this. I've tried it out. It's very nice.
It's incredible.
Then the AI or synthetic content is becoming so good that on your webpage 50/50. Have you also, just out of interest, have you also done this with AI experts that claim that see a lot of AI generated content, and are they better at this, or do you say no, don't matter your expertise, you will get fooled by the AI?
Like, I think we have like several classifications.
Yes.
Of course, there's the easy ones, and several of the ones that are maybe also still online. People, or you and me, we're also like, or the general public, we're able to differentiate. There, it's like the text to speech. If we think of Google Translate, on Google Translate, you click on the read it to me aloud button. Like, I can hear a robotic voice there. I can hear that this is not the real person speaking. But if you look at it in the 11 Labs generation, or you add someone's voice in there, like then, like even for AI experts, it's not anymore. I think we're past the stage where in the video field, you might remember, like, it's like, oh, if you have 6 fingers, just remember, like, look for 6 fingers. And like, we're past that stage now where the models have caught up, and this is already like the last generation of models, whereas humans, we could still have some clues to find out what is AI generated. But the current ones, they're like, I don't think there's any human, or we don't see any human features in there that you as a human could differentiate different deepfakes from real ones.
Yes, I totally trust you in that when you're saying this, because you're working in this field and you built a startup on this. So I would love to look into that and to see what are the differences. Especially for audio, I think it's kind of hard on the phone, because you don't have so much information. Then when you see a video where you may have tooths that are not so easy to AI generate and stuff like this, or is this also going away and you will see the models that you're looking at now is...
Well, it's interesting because audio, like what we learned is audio is the one modality where you build the most trust. So if I trust the person, then the audio is in a way the one that adds to this the most. If I see, in a way, if I don't trust the audio and I'm like, this might be fake audio, then this makes the entire conversation meaningless to me. If I see a fake picture, then this is less of a change. So the value of the audio is very high when it comes to how much you trust someone. Which is often, I've recently talked with a person from the Swiss Radio Television organization, and they are also saying, like, like the radio is in a way the big piece where you get the trust, where it's only the voice, the video, if they add a video to it, and 10 vor 10 or Tagesschau, that doesn't add that much additional credibility than if it just comes on the voice channel.
Okay, that's very interesting. Do you think, I have 2 questions on this. Do you know why this is? So does the video give some additional clues where the people think, okay, there's something not quite right?
Yeah.
Because it's more information? Or do you think that somehow we've learned to build, in our psychology, to build trust via voice and via
that's
spoken
an
language?
Interesting question.
Yes.
I think there's probably, like, I can only guess.
Yes, please go.
I mean, my considerations would be, on one hand, we have seen, like, Photoshop has been around for a long time.
Yes.
Like, we have seen deepfakes or fakes on a picture level. We have seen them for a while. If you see, see 2 politicians from opposite parties having a party together, like, this might be Photoshopped.
Yes.
But it's new to us that this is also on a voice level. So there, I think it's the novelty aspect where we are maybe not as used to it or not as aware of how good the voice technology can also impersonate other people.
Okay, that's very interesting. And what risks do you see in this one? One thing I can see for sure is that there are people texting to older people specifically and saying, hey, I'm your child, can you give me some money and stuff like this? Yes. And usually on the text, okay, it's weird behavior, maybe it's not the right number, so there's a percentage of people that saying, no, this is not my child, I know this is a trick. Yeah. But when they call you and they have the exact same voice like your child, like, as you said, the trust is immediately there. So how do you think, what needs to be in place to solve this, or to help people build trust in voice? Or will we in the future shift away from only trusting the voice, and we need, I don't know, identification for all digital content that is out there?
Yes. It's interesting because you bring up a good point that it's in the it's in a way, like I often make the comparison to seatbelts. You think you're a good driver, and you don't think you need the seatbelts until it's too late. Fortunately, now there is the rule, and we need to have seatbelts to protect us all from this maybe human heuristic that we have towards overconfidence.
Yes,
and I think a similar aspect is also on the deepfake front that we see right now, where a lot of people, and maybe similar, you mentioned it before we started off. Like I think you could detect it.
Yes.
And I think this overconfidence we see a lot.
Yes.
But the people that get scammed, these are not the people that are that don't know about the latest technology evolvements. Like CEOs get just as much defrauded or victims to fraud than the general employee, than a student, than young people, old people. Like the ability, or I think overconfidence is the underlying problem of it, which spans across the population, and it's not tied to experts and non-experts or people that are aware of it or that are not. We see a lot of people who get scammed. They have PhD degrees. They work in the AI space, and they are the ones that then fall for AI frauds. So I think that is something. I think one thing is really to be aware of how quickly things are evolving, and also not fall for the overconfidence. And then, of course, on the other side, there is measures that one can do to think on the process side, on the technological side, to say what are the measures in place. And I think it's very similar to a new threat when the locomotive was invented and people were afraid of it.
Yes.
And somehow we managed the risks around it. And I think now we're in a very similar position where a new technology comes around and it comes with risks and it comes with fear. And I understand everyone who is scared of AI. And it's like, oh, this is there's so much fraud, and how will this gonna work? But I know that there's a lot of companies and a lot of people working relentlessly to make this safe. And I think it will be a change, and it will be an adjustment, and it will be a learning curve. But in the end, we'll have across people, across process, and across technology, we'll have a framework, or we will have solutions to mitigate that risk and use the AI. This brings me back to the original question that I said, why it makes me excited, why I'm excited about AI. I think these are things we need to work on.
Yes.
But then today I wouldn't want to live without trains.
Yes.
And I think in the future I wouldn't want to live without AI.
Oh, that's an awesome statement. Many things you touched on there. One of the solutions is Aurigin that you are building. We're gonna go into this in 1 minute. Before this, I want to thank you for destroying my overconfidence directly at the beginning.
Yes.
I think that's perfect. That I need to be aware of that. I should
play the game after. I'm curious how well you would score on it.
I will need to check it out. So thank you for this. Then second, you mentioned the deepfakes, and then CEOs are also affected by this. Before we go into the solution space and see what Aurigin is doing and where you are playing, can you give it for our audience a definition of what a deepfake is, and then what deepfakes you are focusing on with Aurigin?
Yes. So I think deepfakes is an AI generated piece of media. I need to say this can be a text, this can be an image, or this can be a video. But it's something where it's artificially created.
Yes.
And I think the fake aspect of it also implies that it's something that tries to deceive.
Okay.
So it's an AI generated deceptive piece of content.
So it's intended by a human to do harm with it.
Yes.
It's not that when I clone my voice or when I generate an avatar of myself with a good intent, that this is considered as a deepfake.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But I think there's probably not a rule book definition, but that's how I see it.
Yes, I think definitions, they come up with people talking about it.
Exactly.
So thanks for sharing a few there. And when we now move to Aurigin.ai, you're focusing on specific deepfakes, and how do you came up with the idea in the first place? Why do you build what you're building right now? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. So we started a year ago when we thought okay, how is with all the AI boom happening, we discovered 11 labs that was booming, and we say okay, how in the future, how will we be able to trust what we see and hear online? And we were thinking of how do you hire in the future? Right now And I think it's for the benefit of us as a society. We have remote interviews in the beginning. We can screen more people at the same time. We don't need to travel or at least for typically like first, second stage interviews, you don't need to travel. We can work remotely. There's a lot of benefits that came also out of like good things that came out of the COVID times. And it would be sad if now the lack of trust in this digital communication would force us to go back.
Yes.
To go back to a stone, or I think in the digital age of like this, the digital stone age of like, we can only trust if I meet you in person.
Yes.
Like I came here today and we haven't met before.
Yes, right.
And I think that is like, I would want to trust if you sent me an email and tell me, hey, like it would be nice to talk about this topic. That I know that this is authentic. Because we get a lot of impressions from our outside world, and we need to understand what can we trust to form our own proper opinion. I think this is involved in like business decisions, but also in personal contexts. I think the latest growth number of romance scams are 119% of people trusting other people through digital channels or falling in love with people on the other channel, and they're not real. They're AI generated. So this is I think there's so many different aspects that pull us in this direction and say like how can we create the world or create a future for AI where we can use it in a trusted and safe way.
That's an awesome mission. And there are many possible solutions for this. What is Aurigin doing in detail to build this trust? And what are you focusing on?
Yeah, so we analyze only audio.
Yes.
So we look at audio and we basically give humans the tool of what they cannot do anymore.
Yes.
Humans cannot differentiate AI generated from real anymore. We give a tool that does that.
Yes.
So you feed it to our models or to our technology, and it tells you can trust this or you cannot. This is a real person. This is not a real person. Or if you talk as your CEO calls you and tells you to send him a document or tells you to approve an invoice, you want to know, is this the real person that I think I'm talking with, or is this someone that impersonates the other person on the other side?
And for this, you're using only the audio, or is it because when I think about how humans would go into this task of seeing, okay, there's an audio coming from my boss, is this real or fake? They will most probably go with, okay, does this fit into the context of our current situation? Does it fit in the relationship we have? Does it fit the tone, not just of the CEO as a person, but also to the tone that the CEO uses to articulate anything directly to this person? I assume you're not so much focusing on the context like humans would do. You're focusing directly on the audio file itself, or
yes, we look at like the waveform. We look at what comes like in any type of audio, like whether it's being on a phone call, on a Teams call, on a if it comes broadcasted through the radio, if you listen to it on YouTube. Like we look at any of these audio or of that audio content, and then look at like small AI artifacts in a way that we as humans cannot hear anymore, but they're still in the digital data. So we can still say, okay, this is now synthetic or this is not. But this is, I think, where it's an important part, like the context that goes into it. So it still requires a human in the end that makes the judgment and that says, okay, this piece of content is AI generated, but maybe it's the proper avatar of the CEO, or maybe I'm talking with a call center agent that I know they have their automated reply system. So I know that it is AI generated and it's not a risk. So I think AI generated and being a risk are two different things, where we still need a human to then make the final judgment call and say, what does it now mean if a content is AI generated? Okay,
so you're building tech that is only saying this is AI generated to a certain percentage.
Exactly.
And so I can imagine it's similar to like when you are going to the doctor and they look at your skin for cancer. They also use AI tools to detect how high the probability is that what you're looking at is cancer, without like cancer is already bad in itself, which is not the same case for AI generated content as you were talking about. But your tool is basically doing the same, looking at a piece of audio at the waveform and saying, this is AI generated or not.
Exactly. And I think then maybe with cancer, there's also benign and there's dangerous cancers.
Yes.
So that judgment still needs to hold with a human. Like if you go on TikTok, probably half the content there is AI generated and it's fine.
Yeah.
And if you're in a call with your management team in your company, then you would be very suspicious if there is AI generated content in there.
I see. Okay, so it gives additional information to see if something is trustworthy or not. And you're focusing on building the technology around this, or you're also focusing on then bringing this to where the audio sits, like for example in Teams calls or in where you end users in the end.
Yes. So we have the core technology, which is an API.
Yes.
So which is a programming interface. It's not something that is very tangible for an end user. But then we build, and I often imagine it as like Lego stones. So we have the base plate, which is our technology, and we build the little Lego stones on top, which is an integration into Teams, integration into contact center solutions, like Genesis, like a famous one, where then any audio that comes through these platforms gets automatically analyzed. Like think of it like it's just integrated in your Teams setup. And it just sits silently in the background, analyzing your call, like not storing it, just analyzing it continuously. And you won't notice it until there is something you should be aware of. And you have you're in an interview, in a job interview. And then suddenly there is a notification popping up saying like, hey, that person might not actually be the person that they claim to be, to give you that warning sign integrated into Teams. Like basically, it's like it runs on my laptop just like a virus scanner. So it analyzes any audio that comes out of my speaker.
Yes.
Can turn it on and say, okay, whatever comes out of my speaker now, is this AI generated or not? And therefore, we're somewhat platform agnostic. So it runs on any type of contact center or video conferencing platform.
Yes, and you mentioned you're looking at the waveform. So when I'm in an interview, for example, as you mentioned, this is one of your use cases. I assume that you're working on. When you're sitting in an interview, there is this case of there's an audio generated voice coming through, or maybe the person is reading a script that is generated by a large language model, for example.
Yes.
Is the second case something? How I understood your technology by now, it's nothing that it would detect as AI, or is it also something you're working on?
So we look into it. Right now, the model that you cannot that we have online, or the model that we have in production, it's we don't look at the content or the text content. Okay. But it goes very much into this how can we detect cheating?
Exactly.
Cheating is one of the use cases where it comes up, and can be my proper voice, but I might have ChatGPT in the background and just read it from the answer from ChatGPT. Yeah. So this is something where we're also looking to explore further. The main use cases right now are more on the KYC side, know your customer, the banking onboardings to make sure that it's a real person, or that we can reduce money laundering, or then in contact centers where we have there's several banks that use voice ID, like authentication through voice biometry, and there it's scary how easy it is to bypass this by just an 11 Labs clone.
Oh wow!
So there it's really to in a way patch the biggest holes in the beginning, and make sure that we can make secure voice identification again, or voice biometry. And I think, but then there's a lot of adjacent use cases on the security side. But even if you go to the media space and this misinformation, there's or law enforcement, there's a lot of other use cases where we're also looking into.
How can I imagine the cold call or cold email you gave to your first bank? Was it like, hey, I did this clone with 11 lamps and I was able to crack your security, or?
Well, it was pretty much like this. It was that one day we sat in the office and we didn't believe that it would, I had very low expectations that it would work. I didn't really know about the extent of this problem yet. And we literally held the phone onto next to the speaker of the computer. We played the sample and we were in.
Oh, wow.
And then all our jaws dropped, and then we had to do it again to record it because we had to, I don't know, this was just too good to be true.
Yes.
Because we didn't believe that it would be that easy to get around the current implementations. So now we're, so I think that was somewhat of eye-opening for us, and we hope now to also bring this out or educate and tell people, on one hand, it's a very powerful technology, voice biometry.
Yes.
And we wouldn't want to get rid of it, but there are ways how we can make it safe, or we can patch the existing systems. We shouldn't make a step back. We should make a step forward.
Yes. As you were very much like this. It's not that, there's something bad happening. Yeah. Let's go back and only meet on site.
Exactly.
And that wouldn't work. Otherwise, this podcast also, as you mentioned, wouldn't have happened because we wouldn't even be trusted each other enough to meet here on site. So this tech you're working with companies to actually make this technology available to their customers, and making sure that voice identity is still a safe place to go, and you cannot fake this. Is it the same for like Face ID that everybody's using on their iPhone?
So I think it's harder. We're not that much, and I'm probably not the right person to answer this because we're not that much in the face space or in the visual space.
Yes.
I know it is happening there as well, that there are models, but they have like depth sensors as well. That's what I know on the technical side, how they try to be one step ahead of the fraudsters. But I have just like recently I learned that like one problem is that like getting full access to a phone, like we have everything on the phone. We have mails, we can receive the TANs, like these numbers that you get when you try to log in, and then you need to type in their code. Like once you have access to a phone, often protected by Face ID, then like all the authentication channels are compromised. So it is, I think, a higher bar, but I know it is possible, and I know like phones get compromised. But I don't want to lean too far out of the window there because I'm not an expert for the visual space.
Is it in the future something you want to look into, or are you saying no? We focus on voice. We try to build this, or we built the technology. We're now focusing on bringing this to where the people actually need it to make a decision whether something is a threat or not. Or you're saying no. Voice is one thing, but we want to actually become like the platform to build trust in an AI, in an AI-driven world.
It's interesting. Like we really try to become the best or like the best technology for voice right now. And the interesting thing is, and like I get a lot of questions like, oh, do you do video? Like there's a lot of video fix. Would be an interesting area to go to. But if I have to tell you, I don't know, the wrong IBAN number to transfer your money to, or I call your parents and pretend to be you, and tell them that I've gotten into an accident and I need 2,000 Swiss francs, and they need to be transferred to this account. Even if I'm on a Zoom call with them, like I won't hold up sheets of paper to show them the IBAN number, but I need to say it. So every fraud relies on the faked audio, and the video is somewhat of a cherry on top of something that you can add to increase the trust even further. But the audio is required or is mandatory. So we start there. But yeah, I think right now our focus was to really bump up the accuracy. Until now, I always thought there's not really a deepfake detector that actually works. And I believe we have now crossed that bar where we can say we actually have one that does work. Because there's so many others out there that like you add a little bit of background noise, you modify it a slight bit, you call over the phone, and suddenly it doesn't work anymore. To have something that is really robust and that is where we can really apply it in like in real life use cases. Once we have this, I think there's then several options to also go towards, or we have it in the back of our minds to then use the same principles or the same learnings that we've had for audio, also for video. Okay,
that's awesome. I do a few more questions on your tech because I'm very much interested in this. You said it's very robust. How, like, on what are you focusing in the waveform? You don't go into details. You won't share your models. Of course, it's a startup. But can you explain in plain language what you're focusing on to really have this accuracy and be able to also hold up the pace that AI-generated content is being produced at, and not just the content that's being produced, but also like the enhancements in the AI models are like huge. In 2 years, so many things have changed, and you need to keep up with the pace, I assume, with your models to always keep up this 98% accuracy.
Exactly. And the good thing is I cannot even disclose too many things just because I don't even know myself. So it's also an AI, like right now it's an AI that fights AI. So we have our own AI that learns, and how this, like maybe in simple terms to describe this, like we give it a lot of real samples and say like, hey AI, this is a real voice. Hey AI, this is a fake voice. And then the AI learns. What exactly it finds out in this waveform, I wouldn't even know. So it learns from like just showing it many samples of fake and real voices. It learns what do I need to look out for without being able to properly say this is where it's the beauty of AI, where it can solve problems that are bigger for humans to understand. Like these are millions or hundreds of millions or billions of parameters and calculations that are happening that for us are not understandable anymore. But But in the end, it is accurate right now, and we so we monitor this over time, and we look at the newest models that come out, and most of the time, where even if a new model comes out, it's still like it works properly, and every now and then we have a new batch. We want to stay up to date to update these models. But it's true, we are in an arms race with the fraudsters.
Yes.
It's like who is winning?
Yes.
And this is exactly why we have a separate piece of technology we're currently developing, which is a watermark.
Okay.
Where we say right now we're in the current technology, we're only on the detection side. We find these AI artifacts.
Yes.
And we're now working on a watermark where it's not in a way detecting the fakes, but we can prove that something is real. Like it would be in the microphone, like it might be in here to say, okay, this was actually Luzi sitting here today speaking into this microphone. And then we cryptographically sign this and add this to the audio to know that this was a real recording, exactly to break out of this.
It's like banknotes, like the watermark that you have on banknotes to make sure that the money is not fake. Exactly.
So adding these safety features into the audio to say this was Jakob that spoke today,
that's very interesting. I've read about it, and also of the comparison between like we should regulate AI and technology and digital content in a similar way we are doing with money, because it's also just paper, so it's also just trust in the end that you're exchanging, and the same way. Some digital content may be more diverse and more complex, but it's a similar process in the end. Do you know if some companies are already focusing on creating something like this? Like, is there an example of a watermark for visuals, for videos, or is there something for audio already out there?
I mean, there is the copyright watermarks where, like in the music industry, if like YouTube detects if you upload a video that has in a way music content in there that you didn't pay for, that you don't have the right to publish it under your name. So there is a very, I'd say a very basic form of it.
Yes.
And I think there it's really on like, am I allowed to use it or am I not allowed to use it? And the tricky part when it comes to trust is a lot more intricate than just real or not, like than just binary or like black and white.
Yes.
But it is. Like this comes from this person. It depends in which. And this goes back to the context question. Like in which context was it said?
Yes.
When was it said? To whom was it said?
Yes.
It might also it might come through a phone. So like the quality changes. It has been compressed. It was uploaded somewhere.
Yeah.
You change it from an audio file on your phone to one on the computer. Then you change it to MP3. You change things might, or you even re-record it.
Yes.
Like it might be played somewhere.
Yes.
And then you record it again with your phone. So there's a lot of background noise in it. There's a lot of modifications that can happen. And our goal is there to really to develop such a technology where we can sign at the source, or we can put a rubber stamp on the audio at the time when it was created, like when it was changed from an analog signal into a digital one, to then say, okay, now we put the rubber stamp on it, and anyone who listens to it on the other side knows that that was the real person.
Yes, interesting. Like I think developing technology for this is maybe the easiest part. Can you already share your thoughts on how you're planning to make this accessible and available, like to a broader space? Because I think with a watermark, the more microphones your watermark is being built into the software, the more formats it's in, the more companies or organizations are using it, the better the spread, the more trust. Can you share your thoughts on how you're trying to make this happen? Or
like we're very early still in all the discussions there. So we're very closely working with Sennhauser, the microphone and audio equipment company. So they have a big interest to create secure mics in that sense. But I think it's beyond this. Like, I mean, most of the audio gets recorded from smartphones.
Yes.
So it would need to be embedded in there. We have now several projects with hardware producers to explore what is possible. What are will it be an open standard? Is it a closed standard? There's a lot of design concepts or design principles that we're still figuring out of how can we make this or what is the most successful path to to make this secure, our audio communication in the future.
Awesome. I wish you all the best for this, because I think it's a very, very important mission that you're on, not just with the audio, but also with the watermark for this.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing. Before we go to the next part, and we already touched it a little bit, talking about that you have a very positive driven mission. It's not like that you're seeing the risk out there and see like, oh no, we need to fight against the threats of AI. But how I understood you is that you're saying digital is great. Digital content is awesome. It's awesome that we can communicate even though being miles apart, 10,000 miles apart. So that's awesome. And we want to keep this. And to build trust on this, that's why we founded the startup. When you now look into the future of the AI future we were talking about already in this podcast, like, how do you envision it on the positive side? Like, what do you think will be possible when we keep on track with the trust and keep on track with the technology?
Well, you put it now that deepfake detection is a negative, or we beat the negative. I see it even as an opportunity.
Yes.
Because now, like, if we look at, like, in my ideal world, I don't need to wait in a hotline waiting line for half an hour, for an hour, to then call because I lost a PIN, or call because there was some transaction I need some information about, or because I want to cancel a contract. There is a lot of potential, and I think the inhibiting factor that keeps us now from making more innovation there is trust.
Yes.
And it is because we don't trust these AI chatbots that we have on websites, or we have the automatic conversational AIs that answer phone calls. How do you trust them that they're doing the right thing?
Yes.
How do you trust them that they reimburse someone 4 times as he paid in the original place? So there is, I think, in people we have a lot of trust. We tell them like, hey, these are the guardrails. This is what you can and what you cannot do. These are our policies.
Yes.
We are not there yet for AI. We solve a lot of the very easy problems. Like, tell me what the phone number is that I need to call. Tell me what are your opening hours.
Yes.
I think this is there. We're in the kids' shoes, in German, of AI adoption. And I think the real interesting piece is then if there are certain business decisions that I can give to an AI, but with business decisions, there comes responsibility.
Yes.
And there comes accountability.
Yes.
And all of this is trust.
Yes.
I need to trust my AI to do the right thing.
Yes.
So I think when we go this route and say, how can I trust this communication in the future? It is the enabler, it is the unlocking mechanism to really make like the AI transformation happening. And we read it plenty that like we put a lot of money investing in AI and we need to get the ROI from these initiatives. I think a big part of it is the lack of the trust enabler to say, how do we now, these systems that we have, how don't we just look at them with a very skeptical eye, but how do we have the trust in them that we can say, all right, we let them make decisions up to a higher responsibility level than we would use to otherwise.
That's awesome. So you're not actually on a technology mission; you're more on a building trust mission and bringing this into the businesses. I very much like this because we're doing similar things in my day-to-day job in consulting when we do change management. It's always about creating trust. And actually, what my master thesis, so I studied psychology, and I try to understand when companies are going for a change and when not. And trust was one of the main drivers for this. So the more trust is in there, the more trust you have in leadership, the more trust that you have in this change, of course, the more you are going with it. And to build trust, like the perceived quality of information was important to build up this trust. When you know, okay, this is something that is actually legit, that has good arguments behind it, then you trust it and then you go with it. And the same thing is what you're building. You're building this piece of technology that provides additional information for people to build trust and then to go with the innovation and create a future that will be for sure interesting and cool to live in. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Before we end this podcast, I wanted to ask you, you already shared some use cases, and you already shared that like fraud detection in voice for banks is a use case that you focused on at the beginning. Can you share a little bit more now? What are your concrete projects that you're working on? What business cases are you working? Are you working with CEOs and advising them on how they can build trust in voice content, or how is it?
So one big thing is enterprise security.
Yes.
There is a year ago, when I talked about, they call it CEO fraud.
Yes.
Some people knew about it, some didn't.
Yes.
Now when I talk with organizations and probably a lot of people listening also, they might know a lot of or most companies that I talk with now, they have had incidents of CEO fraud.
Yes.
Where someone steals the voice of the CEO, someone leaves a voice message of the CEO, and put yourself in the shoes of you get an email, and we all know now with all the trainings that we've had that we need to look at the email address.
Yes.
But if that person would call me at the same time and tell me, hey, I just sent you an email.
Yes.
There's an attachment, like we actually forgot to pay this invoice. Can you quickly just check if we did? I would click on the attachment.
Yes.
And I've been working in this space for a while now. So I think it's really the enterprise security aspect of securing all communication, like the integration into Teams environments or Zoom environments, where it's like all communication from now on, as a company, you can trust now again. So if someone if someone pretends to be Jakob, I can be sure that it is Jakob.
Okay.
So that is, I think, one of the biggest use case we have at the moment. And then specifically for the finance industry, I think there's another one where it's like the contact centers. If there is, if you can trigger transactions, if you can trigger a change of beneficiary for a life insurance, or you can reset your account, like send a new PIN or reset your card, that you want to make sure that this is the person that actually did sign up for it, combined then with the KYC process.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. One little question before, very much interested. Are you working with the enterprises to bring this technology, or are you working with the hyperscalers like Microsoft, Zoom, Google that have this voice functionality up there, those Teams calls, and to directly build in your software? Or like from which side are you tackling the problem?
So it's an interesting go-to-market that we have.
Yes.
So I think there is the platforms where we offer it as like a Teams add-on, as a AWS service.
Yes.
To use the hyperscaling ability.
Yes.
In the end, we work very closely with the banks to then or banks and enterprises to look at the end use cases, and it will then be in a way purchased, or it will then usually they then get it as part of a package with the hyperscalers. For example, just recently we now partner with Swisscom. So a lot of the small and medium enterprises in Switzerland that rely on Swisscom services, there it can be now administered through Swisscom and comes in a way as a package deal. So we kind of go both ways and keep the doors open and on the enterprise side and on the platform side.
Okay, awesome. I think it makes sense to go with both doors. Awesome. For ending this podcast, I want to give you the chance to give you a last statement for individuals, for businesses, for CEOs, for non-CEOs. Like, how can we, as an individual, like what your tips would be to keep trusting in others and also in digital content when you speak to your mom, when you speak to your boss, or when you speak with anybody that is close to you?
Well, I think it goes back to maybe what I said in the very beginning. I think it's the overconfidence, and to think back and critically reflect and think: am I overconfident in how much I trust people? And with this, I don't want to create fear. So don't leave with just being scared, but see this as an opportunity for change and an opportunity to learn. So we shouldn't make a step backwards, but we should make a step forward. But just like with every other innovation that comes our way, I think it's a way to now proactively embrace this, be aware of it, and find solutions for it, and not be scared and take a step back.
Awesome. I will leave it with this. Thank you very much for joining us today. We see you next time when we're talking about something different in the realm of AI at work. Thank you very much, Luzi. It was awesome. It was a pleasure to have you, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.